President Felix Tshisekedi was sworn in for his second term in the Republic Democratic of Congo. The expectations from the Congolese citizen are high. The president outlined 6 key points for success during his second mandate. 16 head of state were present during his swearing in ceremony. The word is yours. Hello and welcome to our program. I am Eric Biantwadi. Finally, President Felix Tshisekedi has taken the office for his new terms in the DRC. He stated that he is the president of all Congolese people and extended an open hand to the opposition to join the parliament as a strong opposition. Now, let us turn to our guest, Professor Christian Kabange. President Felix Tshisekedi has been sworn in DRC. What challenge do you think the president may face in the new terms?
Thank you very much for having us today, and thank you for the question. Um, I think the challenges were many, of course, but I want to start saying that it's always important to link election with the governance of the country because otherwise, we election won't have a meaning if it's not related to improving the governance in the country. And I think from there, of course, President Tshisekedi being elected today, he has whatever legitimacy he needs to handle those reform that he want to see in the second terms. But I want to say that the major challenge is the issue of corruption, because you can have a lot of nice thought and idea, but we all know that one of the major challenge that the DRC has been facing for the past, I don't know, 30 decades or since independence, is that very issue of corruption in the public management of public fund. So pretty much, I'm sure that that's the main challenge that is going to have. During the first term, the IGF did a wonderful job as far as possible because they were able to single out those public leaders or public officers who were involved in mismanagement of public fund. But unfortunately, you know that you cannot be on both sides. Like they couldn't take the part of the court. Now the problem is that when the issue went at the court system, at the level of the court system didn't respond. Correctly, the way the Congolese people were expecting, of course, because our court system as well is full of corruption. We're not going to say it in another way. So I'm pretty sure that the ideas of President Tshisekedi are very good because at the end of the day, if you want to improve the economic situation of Congolese citizens, you have to give them jobs. You have to improve the buying power, the way he mentioned, but it doesn't happen overnight like that. There are things to do, like you have to increase the production within the country because increasing production means that you're going to hire people to work. And when you hire people to work, you give them job, then you improve their buying power. So it's part of the economic rules. So pretty much I hope that the government will be able to go through what we usually call uh, uh, public and private partnership so that they can come up with um, economic project and investment that is going to allow the citizen to get jobs opportunity and improve their buying power and improve the economical situation. So that's what I can say so far.
Professor Monti, having heard Professor Christian his comments, what are your thoughts on President Felix Tshisekedi his second term?
Newly elected and newly sworn in. He has a very ambitious agenda, and what I'm going to be seeing How does he manage? What type of people or what kind of people does he surround himself with? And of course, the president needs to set the example in terms of being responsible, by being articulate, by being technically proficient in terms of legislation when he meets with parliament, when he goes out into the regions and talking. Because the people need to understand that the government is serving them via health care, via education, and via proper employment. And as such, the president needs to walk his talk. He needs to reach out to internationals, his fellow African presidents or other countries in Africa, as well as the Western Europe or North America, in terms of that Congo is open for business and Congo is going to conduct business affairs normative, subject to rule of already agreed process and procedures without any fear or favor, in open transparency in terms of legitimacy. He wants to say, I'm going to earn your trust, notwithstanding that this is my last time because I will not be seeking election again, according to the Constitution. So that should provide him with what I call a positive veil to really do what needs to be done, the heavy, hard lifting. He may upset many people, and that is good because when you upset people, you must be doing something that is affecting them, so long as you can justify what you're doing. And trust needs to be embedded within the presidency, the executive, within the legislature, the parliament, and most importantly, within the judiciary, that the lawyers or the judges need to be totally independent, not subject or suborn to the government, as Professor Christian said in terms of the Corrupt Practices Act, that there needs to be complete independence. And a strong legal system is going to be paramount to see how Congo is going to unfold in the future.
President Felix Tshisekedi outlined 6 points in his speech. Let us delve into his speech. What are the key takeaways, Professor Christian?
Yes, so thank you very much. What I want to say is that that was a great speech, of course, because, of course, you cannot address every single issue in details in a small time like that. But he singled out or point out to the major challenges of the country. And before I can come back or go on the whatever he addressed, I want to say that uh, the legal system in Congo is what we call a semi-presidential. I think something like that, like where the president is not the is not the one who define everything because the government, the parliament has a role to do it, like a 50-50 between the president and the government when it comes to how to define what the government is going to do because the government need to be entrusted from the parliament. Now, but when you go psychologically among the citizen, they don't care about how the legal system is organized. They look at the president as the main person to give the vision of the country. And that's why I said that the speech was great. Like Felix Tshisekedi point out exactly what we need to do, in which direction we need to do. But now, how do you move from the speech to translate what is the target or the objectives, how you translate them into practice? That's where we need to understand that the president is not the one who is going to be everywhere and do everything. So I will just come back to what Monte said about the selection. Like you need to select the correct people to put them at the right place so that the work can be done and have the country move forward. So this is going to come to play, and we're going to see how the government come to be, like the people who are going to be in the government, like in the executive, the prime minister, and all those people, how they're going to be chosen. Because of course you can't ignore the political side of who won most sides um, um, in the parliament, but you have to combine those political aspects with the competence, with competency, capacity of people, and try to see who will be a better minister in this or this sector or field the government. And I hope as well, and this is maybe a discussion that we can have later. I'm part of people who support that we need to review some aspect of how the constitution organized the country, because when you go back in from 2006 up to now, you will notice that there is a problem at the provincial level. When you take how the governors and the provincial assembly, they spend all the time fighting. But the idea when they gave more political power to the provinces, that was for them to work on the local level, and because there is this proximity with the citizens so that they can improve the situation of government at that level. But if you look from 2006 up to now, there have been fights between governors and provincial assembly. And I want to be honest, as long as we won't address this kind of issue in the way the country is functioning, we're going to go around and have the same result. So there are so many challenges, but what I'm trying to say is that Felix Tshisekedi, of course, gave the vision as a president. But as I mentioned, our legal system is like a semi-presidential, like the parliament has its role to play, and the president as well. At the provincial level, we need to figure out how we're going to make this happen so that everything can move forward. So pretty much that's what I can say as far as the legal system is concerned.
Professor Monti, what are the comments on President Felix Tshisekedi speech?
A good message that his peers recognize his government as being legitimate and duly elected, furthered by messages from the United States and Canada congratulating him on his election and inauguration. These are all good signs. And further to what Professor Christian is saying in terms of the legal system, and I defer to his expertise in terms of national legal knowledge, it just means that President Tshisekedi has the opportunity within his hands to do what needs to be done. It is up to him. And he, being president with the entitlements, bears full responsibility. And he should not be adverse nor afraid, that he should do what needs to be done. And that may involve upsetting some people as he starts to structure his administrative governance system. And as Professor Christian very ably pointed out, the conflict or the potential sores between the provinces and the capital is ongoing, and that will need to be addressed. And that is where one hopes that you allow the parliamentarians who are elected locally and then represent in Parliament in Kinshasa, that they are part of the conversation. That it needs to be a win-win situation, that no one is going to be the loser. And that presumes that people are dealing with what I term clean hands, an open mind, being absolutely transparent in terms of resources and how resources are being allocated. And when people start to learn to trust, and that is where you involve the judiciary, that they need to be selected from the best and the brightest in Congo, and then made to understand, and that is going to be by action indeed, that you are independent, subject to already parliamentary rules, and then you will be protected. There will not be what I call suasion, internal or external. And that is going to take time. But President Tshisekedi has an opportunity to become one of the great men in Congo, if not in Africa. But he needs to build up confidence and have the people that are closest to him speaking to him without fear or favor. That may mean telling him things he may not like to hear, but it needs to be grounded within fact-based evidence and grounded within sincerity in terms of what is going to be the best interest of DRC.
President Joseph Kabila, the father of Congolese democracy, was absent. It was reported that he was in South Africa attending his PhD program. How do you see his absence?
I think that it would have been a beautiful image, the way we saw President Kenyatta greetings President Ruto. I don't know if you see there was a picture, a video like that, showing that we are able to have a former president and a new one. I mean, of course, we saw it in 2018, but for Joseph Kabila to choose, because his spokesperson said that he traveled to South Africa because he's writing a PhD. That's why I saw on social media. I don't know if it's true or not, but I mean, he has his own reason. If you look back couple of years, he has been quiet for a while. It's not just now for election, but if you look a little bit few years after, I mean, from the time the coalition between Cash and FCC split it, Joseph Kabila is not being speaking or saying anything from that time. I may be wrong, but he has been quiet for a long time. So I don't know what is going in his mind. I don't know what is his political project for the future. But what I know for sure is that is a lifetime senator. So it means that pretty much is done with the presidency, and I don't know which way is going to go. But there is different capacity in which you can help your country. It's not just as being a president. So if it can do something in a different capacity for the country in the future, that would be great. But as far as democracy is concerned, as I say, it would have been a good image to see the way Kenyatta and Ruto were able to shake hands. It would have been beautiful, but he has his own reason. That's what I can say. I know I can't say much because he never said anything beside the fact that he went to South Africa for a PhD. And that was his spokesperson, by the way.
Professor Monte, what are your thoughts on these matters?
Without going into internal Congo politics, my only comment is going to be, as a former president, it would have been, I submit, a good move on his part to show solidarity for the nation state Congo by showing up, shaking hands, and giving the blessing, and then, as Professor Christian said, retreat into quiet life and doing what he does. So that was an opportunity that he missed. And to me, would have also shown a form of character, which could have been transmitted throughout the state. And that is something else that needs to be done by politicians. They need to demonstrate character in terms of good faith. And so I agree with Professor Christian. Former President Joseph Kabila made, I believe, an error in judgment by not attending the convocation of the new president by paying homage.
President Felix Tshisekedi sent a message to opposition, urging them to have a strong representation in the parliamentary. Do you believe this is just a beginning the opposition should consider?
If I could be in a room with all the opposition candidates and offer them some words, all I would say, this is your time to show grace, to demonstrate solidarity and reach out. We want to help. How can we assist you as head of state govern this country? What can we do? Allow us to participate, allow us to have influence, obviously under your stewardship, but showing good grace. It's not the time for division. It's time for constructive criticism only, not division. As we would say in Canada, His Majesty's loyal opposition. And I underline the word loyal. And that is what I would suggest to all the opposition presidential candidates. Be loyal to your state.
Professor Christian, what is your opinion on this?
Yes, of course. I like what Dr. Monte said about being showing solidarity, because at the end of the day, we don't work for individual. We only have one Congo. We only have one country, and we all trying to build together. So people need to understand that. But unfortunately, even if you look among the member of opposition, even among each other they don't get along, and that's one of the big issue in the political leadership that we have back home. And I think that President Tshisekedi mentioned something I want to come back on, when he was talking about opposition, is the legal official legal position that is recognized in the 2007 law about the chief of opposition in the parliament. We have never succeeded to have one member from the opposition to handle that position, because among them they don't even get along, about who has to play that role. But if you look in the spirit of the law, that law is that opposition is not supposed to be just opposing for the sake of opposing. It's like trying to bring something that can be constructive. That's the main spirit of that law. So President Tshisekedi wish that at this in this term, the parliament will be able to uh, identify who is going to be the chief of the opposition in the parliament, and that they will be able to work with the majority. Of course, it's democracy. We can expect everybody to agree on everything, but at least to work hand to hand to build up the country. Because at the end of the day, we want the country to move forward. So that's one aspect of how I see the opposition play a major role in this term. As far as being participant to the in the government, I don't know how it's going to work because it's not part of the rules if you look at what the constitution provide. But the president can always open to people and decide that I'm going to work with you and or this other person in this and that capacity. At the end of the day, it's not just working with people for the sake of working with people, but it's understanding that we all need to put hands on so that the country can move forward.
Now let us discuss the conflict in the east of DRC. Many believe that diplomacy has failed.
Indeed, very complex. As a former president said, Teddy Roosevelt, speak softly but carry a big stick. With the United Nations moving out, it is going to be incumbent upon Congo leadership to instill within the police and the military dedicated professionalism, and they need to be treated and accorded as such, and allowing them to do their jobs and to recognize what the limits are. That can be a form of diplomacy. I always prefer that you speak as opposed to using blunt force. However, it allows you to accentuate your rhetoric when people recognize that you have a disciplined cadre standing foursquare right behind you. And when you do talk softly in terms of what is and what is not, it only is to your positive advantage. And yes, Rwanda is putting several spanners into Eastern DRC for reasons economic, one suspects. But nonetheless, President Tshisekedi has it within, now that he has a mandate for 5 years, to instill a degree of solidarity among the police as well as among the military, and it's going to be accentuated with the United Nations pulling out at the request of a sovereign state. So now the president needs to demonstrate that he has the wherewithal and is going to start the program. It's not going to happen overnight. So he needs to find able people. He needs to reach out, perhaps to France, perhaps to Belgium in terms of military education, or even the United States. And I would even suggest Canada, because we are a bilingual nation, and will allow Canada to reintegrate back into Africa, to about training programs. And military training is not with the kinetic arts. That's one aspect. It's also social responsibility, instilling non-fear among the citizens. So when they see a soldier walking about neatly dressed in uniform, he's well kitted out, so he or she, and I underline the word she, will have pride in their position because they are being treated responsibly, being properly outfitted, and being respected in terms of monetary compensation. So then they will be viewed as enablers, not as disablers in terms of pillaging and violence.
Many believe that diplomacy has failed to resolve the issue. Do you see the issue? Do you see the use of force?
Yes, I totally agree with Dr. Mante, and I will say regarding your question, should we like choose between fighting or diplomacy? I don't see them like opposite, because I like what the American used to say: fight and talk. You see, so um, we should we need to keep talking as far as diplomacy is concerned. But it's not because we're talking on the diplomatic level that we have to stop fighting. Because remember when President Macron came, he was trying to say something that maybe a lot of Congolese didn't understand. He was trying to say that no matter what the international community can do, they will never go up front and do the job for you guys. You have to stand up and move forward and be the go on the first line and remember that it's your country. And I think that's why I was saying in another discussion that I'm part of those who support the idea of radicalization of the Congolese people, and I will explain in which way. People need to understand that Congo is the only country in Africa that has 9 borders. And then when you take that aspect and you compare to how gifted we are with natural resources, it means that we can't play with that issue of being able to secure the whole country, because as Dr. Monte mentioned, we can find different excuses to Rwanda, but we all know that Rwanda or any other country, the main target is to take over control of the natural resources in Congo. That's the main target. So as such, yes, we have to keep talking as far as diplomacy is concerned, but we need to raise up to a level where we are able to protect our land from the north to the south, from the east to the west, and from any part of the country. And of course, as he mentioned as well, we need to work on building a strong army. Building a strong army requires a lot of strategies. I'm not an expert in that field, but I know for sure that you need to understand what is going on the field and how you need to respond. My conclusion is that definitely it is unfortunate to say this, that as long as let's say, I always look at Rwanda and Rwandese people as our own brothers. I'm not part of people who say that we need to hate them. No, but you should be able to make a difference between the Rwandan citizen and the political system leading that country. You see, so unfortunately, I'm pretty sure of what I'm saying, that we're not going to have peace in the Great Lake region as long as Paul Kagame will be in power, because his way of viewing things is a whole school, pretty much close to what was uh, Adolf Hitler. That I need to to make a mess in another country in order for me to be strong. That way of thinking is expired, because if you look at, let me just take an example of what is happening with the European Union. You know that Germany and France, for so many years, they didn't get along, but today you will see that they're trying to do an effort. They're trying to make efforts to work together as far as possible to build up a strong Europe. So as long as we don't get to that level of understanding in the Great Lake region, that we need to build each other so that we have peace in every country and build our development, is not going to happen. And as far as Congo is concerned, yes, I support radicalization as ideology for the people to understand that we need to be upfront. It's not the international community that is going to do the job for us. We need to come first. And if they will come with support, then it come next.
We spoke to some Congolese citizens, and many expressed the importance of Congolese youth serving 2 years in the military after obtaining their national diploma. They believe this will result in well-educated and patriotic youth. What are your thoughts on this?
That would be a most excellent plan, but I would go even further, not only military, but also civil, in terms of working with the villagers, in terms of dams, in terms of doing construction. But these young men, young women need to be again empowered with logistics. That this is not a make type of work, small work, but also academic, transactional training as part of it. It's the way the state can make its investment in the most precious resource, that of human capital. And long term, the dividends will be manifold. You will have a cadre of potential military type people concomitant or along with a cadre of people vested in civil affairs, working with military, so the conversation will be ongoing for many, many decades afterwards. Also, it's an opportunity to show that whether it's a high school diploma or a trade school diploma or a university diploma, it will have value because, in the ideal sense, you want to put people to their strengths. That if someone is, say, very tall, very strong, you don't want to have that individual sewing uniforms. You would rather place that individual, whether male or female, out in the field doing something constructive. And the idea of having someone who is more adept in terms of dealing with words and ideas, you will put them in public policy or in outreach. Again, it's a formalized type of training that the state is making an investment into their citizen. It's a significant capital investment, and that will also illustrate not only to the Congo peoples, but to the external world that Congo is taking the governance very seriously. And that will be a total feather in Felix Tshisekedi's cap. It will empower him, make him very, very strong, and it would also upgrade the peoples.
Professor Christian.
I agree with the idea that we need to invest in the human capital, as Dr. Monte said. As far as going to the military, I'm not sure if, from a legal perspective, it's able to force everybody to do it. That's another discussion. But the way I see it in other countries, and of course even here, is that when you don't go to the civil service, there are some of the benefit in the society that you can get access to. That's a way as well of trying to make people understand that I do it for the country, like it's a win-win situation. So pretty much, it's gonna be very good if the country can come up with a good strategy to encourage the young people to see it as something that they can do to help the country as well, and maybe in exchange of that, getting maybe a scholarship or something like that. I don't know. It's all come down to the strategy, as I mentioned. The government has to define its strategy, and I want to point out to something because during the first term of President Tshisekedi, the minister in charge of um, education at the university level, they came up with something like that, but they say you need to go, everybody needs to go, and they need to go for 15 days. I was like, let's be honest and serious. What do you learn in 15 days? So to me, it was a kind of a joke. Like, you want to do something, but you try to make a term that doesn't make sense. You don't go for 15 days and come up back and say you understand the military and what you can do. I mean, at least the minimum, I think, it'd be 6 months or maybe 3 months. I don't know, but 15 days was, to me, it didn't sound serious. So the idea is good. It's just how we implement that, how we define the strategy in such a way that people are encouraged, our youth are encouraged to do it and be ready to support the country at any level that will be needed in that regard.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. What will be your last word?
Recognizing that cabinet making or executive making is compromise in terms of where people are located, what ethnicities they may have is part of the issue, but also surround yourself and surround your senior people with able individuals, Congolese, who understand and who are not adverse in terms of speaking their truth, so long as the truth is grounded in the betterment of society. Do not surround yourself with yes men or yes women. Surround yourself with people that are going to be critically in a positive manner. And as Professor Christian very ably phrased it, in terms of empowerment of civil society, in terms of upgrading, always upgrade and dedicate resources to education, dedicate resources to healthcare, dedicate resources to transforming the legal system where it is respected by everyone, from Kinshasa to the east, to the west, to the south, and as Professor Christian said, to all the borders. It's going to take time, but if you don't start, nothing will happen. So my last few words are, you have the mandate. It is up to you. Congo is looking to you do least harm.
Professor Christian.
What I can say to conclude is that President Tshisekedi gave the vision, and now the big challenge is how to translate that vision into something like reality. And I think that a lot will come to play into this, like the decision making process, how he's going to make decision, of course, choosing the people that is going to appoint in different position, how he's going to be dedicated more than in the first term, because this is the last one. So when you play a soccer game and you are in the second part of the game, you give more if you want to win. Of course, you won't be able to fix all the issue of Congo because you can't do it in one term or two terms, but you do your part and leave it out to the person who comes after you. So what I wish is that it will show more dedication to all those values that are justice, that are transparency in the management of public fund, and this is going to show specifically in the way he choose the people, the way he's going to choose the people around him, surrounding him, the way he's going to choose the people in the government, the way he's going to respond to people who are still have the bad mentality of thinking that the reason they come in power is just to enrich themselves. So pretty much that's my thought, and I wish him the best for this second term, and hopefully that Congo is going to move forward.
Closing thought from Professor Christian and Professor Monty. Dear viewer, thank you for watching. You can catch up our program again on our YouTube channel, BS News International. For further discussions, you can join us on our WhatsApp number +225 07 78 87 64 62. On behalf of all the team, we look forward to seeing you again. Goodbye for now.